Hi, I'm Kiana Turner, and I did my internship at the Achieve Center, a speech and language pathology facility. The Achieve Center is only found in Washington State currently, in Spokane, Washington, Wenatchee, Washington, where I worked, and Moses Lake, Washington, which is a new location they just opened a few months ago. I found my internship through my stake president back home. It's his program that he started from the ground up, and it has expanded because it has just grown like crazy. And he said that he would love to have me come and work for him with no hesitation at all. My responsibilities while I was working at my internship were to assist therapists with their clients and working side by side with them in therapy with their clients. I also helped with weekly crafts that they held on Tuesday afternoons and just assisting with that. I also inventoried their game and toy room by going through and just making sure that all of their games and toys were appropriate for children to still continue to play with. There were a few games that were very used and needed to be doctored up and make sure that they had all the pieces there, so I inventoried that, making note for the therapist to get more pieces to go along with that, and also just making sure that it was still developmentally appropriate for their age level for each different child. I also went and did home visits for the children in the Birth to 3 program and just helping assist therapists while they did that. And I also did Head Start visits with therapists when they would go to Head Start and administer therapy there for those children. I also helped in overlap of client therapy sessions. So for example, when therapists were over on their time with a client and another client was supposed to come in, I would take over and take that next client and start working with them while the other therapist finished up with their first client. I also helped with paperwork for the front office and just making sure that there was packets created for new clientele that was coming in. And I also helped maintain a level of sanitation in the therapy room by making sure that toys were sanitized and wiped down and just making sure that it was a safe environment for everybody to come to. A lot of children like to put things in their mouths, and so I needed to make sure that everything was clean and wiped down. I benefited the site that I served at by helping therapists with clientele traffic within the office. I also helped maintain a level of sanitation, as I had previously mentioned, and also provided suggestions on making sure that things were developmentally appropriate and applying those practices within the facility as well. I definitely benefited from working at the Achieve Center. It was an amazing experience. I was able to learn so much more about speech and language pathology, which is a branch off of child development, just deepening my understanding of more of how to help those with speech delays and being able to better understand how to work with those children. It really was an amazing experience working with children in the field rather than just sitting in a classroom just discussing it, and really being able to see it firsthand in the field. I also have a new love for children with special needs. There's a lot of clientele that come through that have special needs, and it's not necessarily just a minor speech delay, but something that's going to be a lifelong thing for those children, and being able to work with them is really rewarding. I also have learned to pay close attention to detail as I point out how there might be a developmental delay in a child's speech. For example, therapists that I'd be working with would ask me if I could pinpoint out what was the delay that the child had. Of course, the therapists already knew what was going on and they had goals that they were working towards. But for me to be able to use my knowledge that I have in my degree and pinpoint where exactly a child might be delayed was really great to be able to better think about and to understand more fully. The biggest connection that I made between my coursework and what I experienced in my internship was differentiating instruction for each client that came through the door. Personalities are not the same, children's ages are not the same, and their interests aren't the same either. So you really need to be creative in coming up with different ways that interest them individually, but are also appropriate. And so it was great to be able to apply developmentally appropriate practices into my everyday of being there at the facility, so that way I could better implement it in making sure that the child was successful for their therapy for that day. So would I recommend this experience to other students? Yes and no. I would recommend this to other students only if they're planning on becoming a speech and language pathologist. When I did my experience, I was limited on what I could do because I wasn't certified to administer therapy myself, and so I had to work alongside the therapist as they administered therapy just because I wasn't certified. However, my employer said that if I was working on an associate's degree in speech and language pathology concurrently, I could administer therapy as an option as well. So that could be a potential opportunity if somebody would like to do that. If you are interested in becoming a speech and language pathologist and would like to work at the Achieve Center at either of the 3 sites, contact Hal Hunsaker, the president of the Achieve Center, at hal.hunsaker@achievecenter.net.